To our webinar on securing vacant premises. Today we have some fantastic speakers. We've got PC David McCrimmon, we've got Watch Commander Gary Woods, we've got Allan Burnett from Secura Group, and the Security Industry Authority Manager Ronnie Megaughin, all here to offer guidance on how to best secure, protect and maintain the physical security and fire safety of your premises around COVID. My name is Jude McCorry. I'm the CEO of SBRC and I'm week 3 in position. So this will be a good learning experience as well for me to hear all about how my team operate around this and also our members as well. Thank you very much. And over to PC David McCrimmon.
Good morning all. How's the sound? Hope it's well. Hope everybody's well at this time also. We just want to cover a few things about vacant properties. You know, we're in a situation just now, it's an unprecedented situation, coronavirus, and it's taken a grip on the nation's health, but also the way we work, whether we're working from home, as we're advised to do so, or we are closing our premises so that we can function off-site. And that presents some particular challenges from the outset before the government's so-called lockdown. It was enforced. There was advice and guidance on not to travel, and then closing public places such as gyms, restaurants, bars, pubs and clubs. Now from the beginning, we at SBRC put out some advice and guidance to the nighttime economy through Best Bar None. On securing licensed premises due to the particular vulnerabilities about that. And we saw that it's an opportunity to expand that out to any retail premises, and then further again to any and every premises that's closed at this time. There was one incident that I'm aware of that was reported in the media from a bar in Glasgow. There was an attempt break-in. There was CCTV footage of that broadcast where a male was seen trying to kick open the glass-fronted doors. However, it was unsuccessful due to the quality of the glass. There was also a further incident in Edinburgh, I'm led to believe, where it was simply an act of vandalism. 2 persons were down in the street, captured on camera, smashing windows at 2 restaurants down at Leith, I believe. So that kind of gives us reinforces the message that premises are vulnerable to people who are going about engaging in acts of criminality. The streets are a lot quieter just now, so there's not that many witnesses who are going about the street. There's not that many passing cars, people who would stop and call the police and intervene. And we have seen pictures on the news of premises boarded up with either pulling shutters down if you have them, or the high streets where there's not that facility, actually putting wooden boards across doors and windows. And it's quite a sort of intimidating look, but it's vital for looking after your premises. So we've broken it down into some bullet points, and I'll bring this up. A couple of slides. If I can get it started. I'm not a technophobe, but I'm getting there with technology. Okay, so we've broken this down to a couple of bullet points, and shortly this will hopefully pop up on the screen. One of the big things is if you have an alarm, a burglar alarm, or CCTV or both, we want to make sure that your system is working, it's been tested regularly, the cameras are clean, and that your alarm is currently monitored. When it comes to CCTV, we're looking for you to Position your cameras in such a way that it gives you ideal coverage for your front and back of premises if you have it. We want you to identify vulnerable areas, security gates, bollards, that kind of thing. And hopefully prior to closing your business that you have done that and make sure they're properly secured. Key holders, make sure that your key holders list is up to date and it's relevant, and ensure that you know who to contact, or certainly the police know who to contact should there be an alarm activation. High value items, when it comes to pubs and bars, what we're saying is if you have optics behind the bar, if you have large quantities of bottles of alcohol that are easily viewable, take them away, take them down, get them locked away in your cellar or in your storeroom securely, so that there's not that temptation for somebody passing by to look in and see that as something they want to steal. Also, some restaurants, I'm aware that they use iPads to take orders. I mean, that's quite a valuable thing to a would-be thief if they were to break into your premises and steal those things, even if it's worth £10 or £20 to somebody who's desperate. Timers and switches for your lights. If you're boarding up and you're covering up your windows, it's not really relevant, but if you don't have that facility, if you want to keep lighting on so that people can see in that there's nothing of value to be taken. And we talk about tills, electronic point of sale. I know your tills will be behind counters or under counters. It's worth taking the cash tray out and putting that on sort of open view, empty, so that people, would-be thieves, can see that there's nothing there. Any cash that you do have, petty cash, get that secured in a safe or a locked storeroom if you have it. I mean, we give advice on secure by design products anyway. If you have them, if they are secure by design, they are tested and rated, and your insurance will be happy with that and satisfied. Talking about external shutters earlier on, some high streets, I know that some high streets don't like premises having shutters. They want to have a nice environment. So if you're not afforded the luxury of having a shutter that you can pull down and close, then really do consider putting wooden boarding up. If you've got laminated glass, that's fine. You can get film, security film that you can put over that to help protect the glass so it doesn't break through. Fogging devices, anti-theft alarms, if you have them, that's ideal if you have them. I think at this time it's maybe not worth you going out and purchasing such things. Secure your premises as best as it can be. You've probably seen reports in the media of persons being stopped by the police going about their business, either to and from work, at railway stations down in London. You may have seen roadblocks on television being operated by the police where they're asking people where they're going, is their journey essential? From a Police Scotland point of view, that's not the police stance that we are taking at this time. We will be engaging and educating people and enforcement as a last resort, but we don't envisage carrying out roadblocks or stopping people going about in the street and asking them where they're going. So you can be reassured that if you're having to go out and check your premises, and we do recommend you do that, you will have a legitimate reason for being out if you are stopped by the police, or in the unlikely event that you're approached by the police, because you have to check your premises to make sure it's secure and that your alarms are working. If there's an alarm activation and you as a key holder are asked to come out, that's a legitimate reason for you being out. What I will say as well is, if you're out checking your stores or your premises or your offices, have a look at your neighbouring premises as well and do the neighbourly thing and be the business community here. We do know that there are pub watches, and pubs and clubs will talk to each other through licensees groups, licensed trade associations, through Facebook closed groups and WhatsApp groups. So you can take it in turns to check premises and report on anything that you see suspicious, amongst yourselves and secondly to the police. And if there is anybody hanging about, watching what you're doing, if you feel it's suspicious, contact us, let us know via 101, and we'll take the appropriate action as necessary. My contact details are just coming up on the screen just now. You can ping me an email through the centre. Although you'll maybe notice I'm dressed in black and wearing police uniform. Before anybody says anything, yes, it still fits. I've been redeployed from SBRC to frontline policing duties at the moment, although working in a police station and covering the public counter. So I'm still able to do my day job also. So that's why I'm not dressed in a shirt and tie and I'm sitting in a little divisional commander's office somewhere. So that's really it from me. I'm going to hand over now to Gary Wood, and I think I'm able to stop sharing this now. I'll see if there's any questions or anything on my page. Thanks, folks.
Gary, you're going to have to turn your sound up.
How's that? Is that me? Good morning, folks. My name's Gary Wade. I'm a commander for the Scottish Fire Rescue Service. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, that okay. So I'll need to lean a bit closer to the microphone. Today I'm going to give you a few pointers on maintaining the safety of your premises in terms of the fire risk presented at this particular time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pretty much do the same as Dave did. I'm going to just put up a slide, pick it up here, and we'll just run through some basic points. None of this is rocket science. Some of this you'll probably be aware of already as duty of premises. However, maybe if you can manage to take a wee bit of legal nugget here from somewhere, that's my job done. So let me just see if we can get a slide up. Okay, so that's us there. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to look at updating your fire safety risk assessment. Your fire safety risk assessment underpins every fire safety measure within your premises, and as such, it may require an update, considering that you've now got many staff within that premises, and you may experience some changes to that fire risk assessment that are required, given the fact that there's no vaccine at this time. You may want to also discuss or certainly inform your insurance company that your premises is vacant at this particular time, just to give them a heads up on that as well. There is information on the Scottish Fire Rescue Service website to allow you to update your fire risk assessment. On that as well, so I suggest business pages for that. Technically, we want to cover is inspecting your premises on a weekly basis. You want to make sure that you're getting out there on a regular basis to check the premises itself. And what you're going to be looking for in the premises is any signs of damage, for example, externally. Dave's already alluded to that from a security point of view. Make sure that the premises isn't damaged. Make sure the doors, etc., are still secure. And that's to mitigate any sort of chance of willful fire reason occurring. And I'll touch on that in a minute. Be aware of government guidance in terms of the travel restrictions that may be enforced at this particular point in time. And it's a good idea actually to have either perhaps an email printed out or a note from your organisation that authorises you to make that journey and inspect the premises in case you're stopped. So that's worthwhile considering too. Electrical equipment inside, you want to turn that off if it's not required. If it's not crucial to the infrastructure of the business, make sure that your electrical equipment is turned off and unplugged. The only things that you want to make sure that are particularly still able to be used is anything that's crucial to the business. For example, remote working. So if you've got a server, for example, that needs that the staff need access to from home, if they're working from home, then obviously leave that plugged in. But anything else that's superfluous at that time, electrical wise, unplug. Electrical fires are very common within commercial properties and indeed domestic premises as well. So reducing the risk by unplugging electrical equipment is absolutely essential at this time. You want to make sure that all your internal fire doors are closed. Fire doors and smoke control doors will confine to a degree a fire in a particular area of a building without that heat and smoke travel going through the premises itself. So make sure they're all closed and they're in good order as well. Secure your external doors, your windows and gates. And again, this ties in with the willful fire raising aspect as well. Make sure that your premises is secure so that any opportunists that are passing by can't access it. Willful fire raising is something that at this particular time when there's nobody in the building is a bit of a risk. You really want to make sure that if anybody who is looking to get into your premises doesn't get the opportunity to do so. And by that I mean a lot of the premises are very secure at ground level, but then you go up a level and they're maybe not as secure. So willful fire raisers will look to perhaps use climbing platforms, and one of the common ones is an industrial bin. If there's any industrial bins outside, make sure that those are chained to a removable object, or if you've got more than one bin, chain them together, and that means they can't move them towards the building to use as a climbing platform. You also want to make sure that if there's anything lying around, like a lever, for example, or something that could be used as a lever, make sure that any tools, etc., are put away and stored securely, because they can be used to access doors and windows. Another thing that you want to do is ensure if you've got an automatic fire detection system or automatic fire suppression system, it's operating correctly as well. Check your panels, your indicator panels, make sure that there's no faults showing. If there are any faults showing, get the organisation or the company that normally services your systems to come out and check that over and get it rectified if possible. Your automatic fire detection and your fire suppression system is the first line of defence in terms of fire safety, especially even more so when there's nobody in the building. So ensure that that's fully operational, and that will reduce your risk considerably. Tying in with that, if you're connected to an ARC, an alarm receiving centre, make sure that link's fully operational. Contact them to make sure that they know that the premises is going to be vacant at this particular time. And also make sure that the key holder list that you have for that ARC in terms of if there's an activation, make sure that the ARC are aware of who to speak to, who to telephone and contact from your organisation to get them to attend the key holder to let our fire crews in to investigate that alarm call. Make sure that the telephone numbers for those people are all up to date, and it's also a good idea to ensure that anybody who is given that duty as a key holder is aware of the layout of the building, is aware of the services in the building and how to isolate them so that they can inform their crews, so your gas, electricity and your water, and also make sure that they're aware of how to operate the fire alarm system as well. Make sure that the key holders are available themselves, make sure that they are able to be contacted quickly, because the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service really want to try and reduce what we call UFAS, unwanted fire alarm signals, false alarms, especially at this time where it could tie up operational resources to a false alarm that could be required elsewhere. You also want to clear away any combustibles that are outside the building. I mentioned bins earlier on. Make sure those are at least 8 metres away from the building itself to prevent any fire spread, should any of those be set alight. And also make sure your yards are secure, any combustibles are stored. If possible, have the combustibles uplifted prior to the closure of the premises. Whilst you're checking the premises as well, it's also a good idea to check the letterboxes to make sure there's no mail building up within the boxes themselves, and also on the other side of the door too, because that's a common way of for fire reasons, something put through the letterbox. And finally, isolate your premises from the mains water supply. That's always a good idea as well. Fire and Rescue Service are called to a number of floodings every year, and flooding can do a considerable amount of damage. So if you can, isolate it from the mains water supply. If you can't, then try and keep the temperature within the building at a reasonable level. However, at this point in time, we're not in a winter kind of weather conditions, so it's not quite as necessary to do so. But it's worth our consideration. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Hopefully you could hear me okay there. And I'll hand back over to Jude. I'm not sure who's next to run in order.
Next, it's Allan Burnett.
Okay, well, hopefully everyone can hear me all right. I'm looking for Jude to give me a nod there. Yeah, good stuff, the thumbs up. First of all, Jude, very nice to meet you electronically. I hope all goes well in the new job, and I hope when all of this is over, I'm sure I'll meet you in person. I look forward to that. So great success to you in your new role. Like everyone else, this has been an absolute roller coaster for the security industry. We've had, as well as all the staff issues that everyone else has had, we've had to deal with substantial, I suppose, gains and losses of business. But a bit of business that has boomed really is the lone worker scenario within commercial and retail premises, where we've had to protect the lone workers and literally being the last men and women that are in buildings and all that comes of that. But there's also been I suppose, a massive increase in the amount of vacant properties that we're looking after. So what I was hoping to do is just very briefly touch on the nuts and bolts. I'm just going to cover some points that I don't think David and Gary did completely, but I suppose my first thing about the nuts and bolts is we publish guidance ourselves as Security Group, but it's very much based on what the police and the Fire and Rescue Service tell us, so no surprises there, and they're a great source. Their websites are a great source of information to us, and we've used it to cascade to clients. As a company that operates UK and Republic of Ireland wide, obviously we're able to tap into the guidance that we get from the 43 or 44 forces south of the border, as well as Police Scotland, and we try and build on that. So I'm going to just a tiny bit about the nuts and bolts. I'm going to try and put my head into being a criminal for a short time, and maybe give a perception about what I think their perspective is of your premises at this challenging time, and partly based on my experience in the security industry, but also 30 years in the police. And finally, just a bit about what the security industry, not just Security Group, can do with vacant property inspection. So that's the agenda. And in truth, David and Gary covered the nuts and bolts very, very well. One very important point I would like to make is that you've got to be in touch with your insurance company. And I know insurance companies have been very proactive in reaching out to clients themselves, but any of us have a look at an insurance policy, whether it's a business one or a home one, there are clauses in there about letting them know or how long you can have your building unoccupied. We're in unusual times, so make sure you've got a dialogue going with your insurance company so that they know exactly the position you're in, and surprise, surprise, they will have a view about what you should be doing, when your property is vacant, to make sure that no harm comes to it. So that's a very important thing. I don't think that David mentioned gaming machines. If you're in the pub and club thing, have them switched off, have them emptied, And another very, very basic thing, we're in unusual times. Make sure that all the signage that you've got refers to your new circumstances. Everything is locked, that you have key holders, that things are empty, there's no money on the premises. So just to move on, to put myself, if I can, in the shoes of a criminal for a moment. And first of all, be very, very aware that you're shut and possibly, very likely, unoccupied. And they'll be having a look to see that that's the case. They know that this really descended upon everyone extremely quickly. In the case of the pubs, the clubs, the casinos, with hardly any notice at all. So your time to prepare for this was not great. And they'll be hoping that you were complacent and left things that you shouldn't have in, didn't think about your security, didn't take all the advice that's now available to you. So they'll think there's an opportunity there. They'll consider your premises, and if it's a pub or a club, they'll immediately be thinking consumable, sellable, swag, really. Drink is always a fantastic thing to take to the black market or indeed consume yourself. So you've got very, very attractive stuff. Just in all premises as well, everywhere nowadays, it's a rich source of IT devices. So they'll be really, really thinking about that. Pubs and clubs, again, I know that when businesses are looking for sites, because we speak to clients about this, you love a ground floor, you love a basement. So do the criminals. So, you're at an ideal height for everyone to be very, very interested into it a great extent. The towns and our cities and the streets, they are much emptier than they used to be. Natural surveillance, just as David said, from the public really, and indeed our own staff, just isn't there as it used to be. They may see that as an opportunity. They may think that the police are tied up with other things and that response times might not be as good as the normal. They'll be balancing that against, well, wait a minute, I'm more obvious when I'm wandering about doing my recce or about to get up to no good, but it will be a temptation to them. I think as well, unfortunately, right throughout the length and breadth of the country, addiction, drug addiction is a major issue. It needs cash, it needs goods to be able to sell, to get the money to feed that addiction. Unfortunately, despite all the great efforts that are going on in the voluntary and public sector with these sort of things, that addiction, unfortunately, is still out there and it needs to be fed. And that makes people increasingly desperate, I think, as time goes on. Another thing about a lot of things like shops, pubs and clubs, to say something very, very obvious, you actually invite people in for a recce, and a drink. So, subconsciously, if I go into any pub or anywhere like that, I kind of can see where it's staff only. I can guess where things are going to be. So they've already had a recce, but they'll be obviously having a more broad recce just to see what the surveillance is round about your premises. And finally, we're in very, very unusual times. I think for most of us, furlough has been a blessing. It's certainly taken away, amongst, as well as being fantastic in terms, or not fantastic, but good in terms of the welfare of the staff and companies. It's probably stopped disgruntlement amongst staff, but that's not to say that these grudges don't exist between staff and customers that you've had in the past. So really that's my perception. I know Ronnie who's coming on just in the SI, an ex-police officer, will have maybe something more to say about that. So they are thinking about your vulnerability. If you don't take the steps that Gary and David eloquently put earlier, you've got a problem. Now, one of the major things, just as I said at the very start, was that these vacant property inspections are very, very valuable. And an awful lot of clients have come to us for that. Some people choose to use their own staff. There's no harm in it, but if you're doing it, risk assess it carefully and make sure that they've got the sort of support, the contact before they do it, that make sure that they're safe in actually going to have a look at the outside and inside of your premises, because there's a vulnerability around that as well. So make sure that that's well thought through if any business is doing it itself. Most of the time, we will do external and internal checks of your security and your security systems. If there's any problem, companies like ours now have an electronic means and mobile phones to let you know immediately and document any problems or indeed no problems that will come across, so that you've got an audit trail for yourself and for your insurer, hopefully that is nothing untoward, and you can get peace of mind. We can obviously time them, and we discuss this carefully with clients to make sure that they're random, so again that any would-be criminals can't guess about when we're going to go there. And Gary was hinting on the utilities and turning off the water. Indeed, you know, we don't just look at the security of premises. Whatever state you've left your utilities in, you know, for better or for worse, turned on or off, whatever needs to be for the smooth running of the building. Of course, we can test those utilities and come back to you that if there's any problem or any issue. We can provide on our own app photographic evidence just to prove to you again that we've been there, to prove to you and indeed your insurers that you have an audit trail that your premises have been appropriately checked. So that's a thing that we do that provides a really good audit trail for everyone. We also have hazard reports on the same app, that if there's anything at all, you know, a small leak that could develop into a bigger leak. And again, we would work with you to know your escalation process for these sort of things before we go there. So really, it's as simple as that. We can do anything that you want when we do a property inspection, right down to the fact that we can lift the mail that Gary spoke about at being the front door and forward it to you. So it's really just about dialogue. So I hope I didn't recover too many things that David and Gary covered. I've just got, if I can, I'm going to try my own hand at various things here and see if I can bring this up on the screen. If you can see that, that's really just a summary of the sort of things that Security Group and other security providers can provide for you to give you peace of mind at this very challenging time. And that's me. Thank you very much. I'll just stop my share.
Thank you very much, Allan. And now it's over to Ronnie Megaughin, who I probably pronounced his name all wrong in Scotland, but in Ireland, that's what we call him. Okay, over to you, Ronnie.
Thank you very much, Jude. Yeah, you got it totally wrong, but after 58 years of people doing that, it's just second nature now, so thank you very much. I'd just like to firstly just echo the sentiment of my co-presenters in terms of hope that everybody's staying safe and well. You know, unprecedented and challenging has been mentioned on quite a few occasions this morning, and I think that most definitely describes the situation that we all find ourselves in. Really sound advice from David, Allan and Gary there, and I think I don't want to cover that ground. I think that's been done comprehensively there. My take on this is very much around about advising you if indeed you are buying security. So it was good to have Allan speaking before me there. So Allan was talking about some of the services that security providers will offer on a general basis, but perhaps more pertinently at this time, because there are so many empty premises, so many premises that require to be protected and secured. And on some occasions, I think once you have a conversation with your insurer, as Allan suggested, some may advise in terms of the steps they wish you to take. So this is about if you're in a position where you're going to be buying security, what it is you want to look for, so that you get a professional quality of service and then you're not duped. Clearly, as Jude mentioned, I work for the Security Industry Authority, who are the regulators for security in the UK. And on a day-by-day basis, since the start of the restrictions, we've been gathering intelligence from the industry and from buyers and doing a bit of horizon scanning around about the sectors where security is more prevalent. And what's undoubtedly happened is there's been a big shift in terms of the type of security or the sector that's now experiencing greatest demand, and that's around about security guarding, undoubtedly. But also what we're seeing, and not surprisingly, are some individuals who are on the periphery of criminality, I'll call it, who are exploiting the situation. Because there are some buyers of security out there who are buying it, and that's not the norm for them. So this is an unusual set of circumstances. So my advice today is going to be around about how to best buy and ensure that the professional service you seek is the one that you absolutely get. Now, from just to dispel a myth for those who aren't aware, but as a regulator, we are governed by the Private Security Industry Act, which came in 2001. Now, it applies only to individual licensing. So our role is to ensure that individuals who operate within the security industry are licensed, where they're carrying out licensable activity. So there is no scheme for business licensing in the UK. However, what the Act did allow the SIA to do was to commence a scheme called the Approved Contractor Scheme. And the Approved Contractor Scheme is, for all intents and purposes, in lay terms, a register of security providers in the UK who have gone through a very robust and very lengthy audit process. So there's 79 points within that audit that they must satisfy, and those are around about integrity, probity, the structure of the business, the welfare, the training, the considerations around about their staff. So the first thing I would say to you is, if you're looking to procure security, look no further than an approved contractor company. If you go onto the SIA website, you can put in a search, and dependent on the sector you're looking for, you can search and you will get a list back of all the approved contractors who are operating in your particular area. As I said, what it does do, it brings you peace of mind. So you don't need to concern yourself with due diligence beyond that point, because all of that, excuse me, all of that's been covered during the assessment process that's led to that business being provided with the approved contractor status from the SIA. So you'll get a quality of service, you'll get value for what you're paying for, and you'll get professionalism. And also, and this is relevant beyond the current circumstances we have, if you're continuing to procure security beyond this point, but you'll also have a guarantee that that employer is looking after the rights of their individuals. So there is no exploitation going on within those companies. Employees who are in the PAYE scheme and all ACS companies are advised to put employees onto PAYE or their workforce onto PAYE to ensure that those employment conditions are all satisfied. So you have the guarantee that those companies are complying with all of their national insurance contribution payments and their tax payments as well. So not only does the Treasury benefit, the country benefits, but the individuals who work for the company benefit. But most importantly, you as a buyer of security also benefit in that particular circumstance. We produced a guide which is called Do You Buy Security? It's only 8 pages long. It has about 6 pages of detail in it, and it will take you onto the website and it will show you where to look when you want to identify an approved contractor who's in your particular area. You can download it or you can view it in PDF form, but if you go to our website, Security Industry Authority website, then you'll be able to access that document as well, and it'll provide you advice and guidance. Of course, there may be scenarios just now, because of the really high demand that's being experienced, that you can't get or you can't identify an approved contractor who can actually provide for you. So, as I said, we have no business licensing in the UK, so we can't guarantee the integrity of a company beyond our approved contractor scheme. What we can do is guarantee that individuals must be licensed to actually carry out licensable activity. But the buyer guide also has a page which advises you on what to look for if you're going beyond the approved contractor scheme. So if you can't get an approved contractor, but you're still looking for a security provider, then there are a number of things that you can look at and require of that provider to give you that comfort that what you're getting is a bona fide business which will provide you with the quality of service that you seek and which you're willing to pay for. And some of the things that you'll be looking for there are, do they have in place compliance with a number of British standards? Do they have 2 years audited accounts in place? Do they have evidence of the business I talked about the welfare of their workforce, about their training and everything else? And remember, as a customer, you've got an entitlement to ask these questions of anybody who you're wanting to buy service from. So don't be put off by people who are unwilling to actually provide you with that. If people are unwilling to do it, then my suggestion is it's because they can't. And in view of that, I would certainly be looking elsewhere. Have a look on their website as well, just to see the nature of it, get the feel for it. I know sometimes websites can be deceiving, and they are relatively easy to set up, but you will get a sense of that along with other pieces of the jigsaw in terms of the nature of the company that you're looking to engage with. So approved contractor, first port of call, and the SIA would always provide that advice. But secondly, if you can't get an approved contractor and you're looking to an alternative security provider, then certainly have a look at our buying guide, either download it or view it online, and look at all of the elements that we advise you to have a look at and check in terms of those companies who are not in the approved contractor scheme. In terms of the legislation is quite complex around about what's licensed and what's not. The vast majority of what I think you will be wanting to do during this period of time will certainly come under the term licensable. And in very simplistic terms, if you're looking to buy in security services to protect your property, to protect your premises, or protect your people, then there is a very strong likelihood that those services will require licensed operatives. So every individual that should be working for you under that contract, and this is where you contract in services, they would require to have an SIA license. And the other safeguard for yourself as a buyer of security is that they must display that license. And the license is absolutely clear. It has colour coding. In the buyer's guide, it will tell you which colour coding relates to which sector, but they must display that license when they're actually operational. So again, if people are not displaying licenses, then it's worthy of asking that question around about them. Remember, if you procure the services of a company who haven't been approved by us, or you've done no due diligence on, then to a degree you put your premises and your business at risk, and that's a real risk. That's not an if or a maybe. What you're effectively doing is you're asking individuals who have no experience in this area to actually come and do a job for you. And I wonder, if you were to get your house painted or whether you were to get an extension built, would you just ask a couple of people who were passing in the street how much they would charge and then get them in the next week to do it? No, listen, of course you wouldn't. And this is no different in terms of this. Security is a profession, it's a professional service, and where you contract that service in, then absolutely you should get the best quality in terms of that. So that's the simple and straightforward advice at this time, and it really does, as I said, it extends beyond the current COVID-19 circumstances. If you're in any doubt at all in terms of what you should be doing, or you have any questions or queries, if the answers can't be found on the SIA website, then I'm entirely happy as the Regional Manager for Scotland and Northern Ireland to take any personal queries. I'm still working, although I'm working from home, I'm still working just now and I'm still active. And my details are held by the SBRC, and I'm happy for those to be passed over to anybody who has any queries around about the buying of security during this time. So in conclusion, hopefully you won't have any issues around about that. The industry is far more professional, is far more transparent than it was 10, 15 years ago when there was a need for legislation to be introduced. And the vast majority of providers out there are exceptionally good, and you'll never have cause to question their services. But there is that bit of due diligence that just needs done in the first instance, and you will reap the dividends of that in terms of the contract you have. So from me, stay safe, stay well, and hopefully we will all get back to normality in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ronnie, and to all of our panelists today. That was really informative, and hopefully you all got some interesting points from it, and also some things that around protecting your premises then going forward. A lot of the questions are coming up around insurance, so we are looking to put on a webinar in the next week or so as well, with some insurance companies and also some specialists around what you should be asking of your insurance companies. And again, what we're saying to people is this is all new for everybody, but and for people just to be patient, and we will work out the finer details with the organisations we bring on the panels. I think everybody's been really busy answering all the questions as they come in, and actually this is probably the busiest webinar we've had for questions over the last 2 weeks, so well done on everybody doing those in between sessions. I don't think there's anything else left to answer, so if any of the panelists, if they've got anything else that they forgot to mention or they want to mention to anybody now, raise their hands and come back on. David McCrimmon.
Yeah, just technical issues with myself. I was answering questions, but it was just going to all panelists and not all panelists and attendees. So I've started answering them. But just to cover some of the questions that I'm going through, there was a question asked about closing blinds. I would certainly say that if your premises has blinds or curtains, close them just now. It stops people looking in. Back that up with a sign as well. There's a question asked about signs. Put an A4 sign up, and get it printed off on your computer so it looks good and it's easily readable. Simply saying no food, no cash, no valuables are left in this premises at this time. It just reinforces that message. There are an element of society who their daily business, and it's been pointed out by the panelists, the daily business is to break into places, and that's what they do. There are people who through their circumstances are short on cash, short on food, short on alcohol, and they will try and attempt to break in. So back that up with a sign dissuading those people. You may still get people who just break in for the sake of having a nosy about because they might not believe the sign, but but doing that is helping your property. A question about the hotels industry, it's the same again. Reinforce it with signage. Saying there's nothing here, there's no food, there's no alcohol, there's no cash behind the counters, everything's gone. There was a question as well about an alarm monitoring. Somebody had to put in an alarm but hadn't paid the extra for the police monitoring. Do it. We are busy as a police service with various things. Crime is going down just now. Let me reassure you that. Crime is going down, but crime is kind of changing. We're seeing more antisocial behaviour because of people flouting the rules and social distancing, and the police have to respond to that. But alarm calls are prioritised and they will be responded to, whether that be contacting the key holder or going out and physically checking the premises, depending on what the alarm system is. So it's worth spending the extra and getting that done just now. And I think that's all the sort of questions directed to myself. Unless anybody has any more, I'll go back on mute. Thanks very much, folks.
Anyone else got anything? Alan, Ronnie? No? Okay, so we'll close off today's session. Thank you very much for everybody, and keep an eye out on the Twitter and the SBRC website as well for all of the different sessions we'll have coming up over the next few weeks. And thank you all very much for joining. Thank you. Bye.